following training is sponsored by the Neoga Library System. We serve our member libraries in Niagara, Orleans, and Genesee counties. Please visit your local library homepage and use your library card to get access to streaming videos, downloadable music, audiobooks, ebooks, and even more from the comfort of your own home. Thank you. Hello. I am talking today about the Facebook files, Instagram getting caught doing secret research on teenagers. Of course, Facebook owns Instagram. It was reported in what's called the Facebook files, I guess through the Wall Street Journal. I took a couple of articles here from the BBC and I'm going to summarize them. And I also want a special note here. Let me scroll up a little. We have the book referenced here. It is called The Facebook Effect, and it is available through the Neoga Library System. So we have that here, and I wanted you to know that. Originally reported by the Wall Street Journal, Facebook has faced a series of accusations about its internal workings based on Facebook's own internal documents that were leaked in September. Now, I looked at the BBC and they summarize the findings as follows. Number one, celebrities were treated differently by Facebook. Well, surprise. Okay. Number two, its response to employee concerns about human trafficking was often weak. Okay. In November of 2019, BBC News Arabic broadcast a report highlighting the issue of domestic workers for sale on Instagram. Facebook took only limited action on this until Apple threatened to remove its products from the App Store. David Kirkpatrick, author of The Facebook Effect, which is what we have in our system, told the BBC he felt Facebook had no motivation to do anything to mediate the harms outside of the US. He contends that there are lots of things that could be done, but for all their disinformation and misinformation work in 2020, only 13% of that work was done outside the United States for a service that has 90% of its consumers outside the U.S. and one that has an enormous impact in a very negative way on the politics of countries like the Philippines, Poland, Brazil, Hungary, and Turkey. Mr. Kirkpatrick suggested that Facebook was only responsive to PR pressures in the US because those could affect its share price. Facebook faces a huge lawsuit from shareholders, and the group alleges, among other things, that Facebook's $5 billion payment to the Federal Trade Commission on that Cambridge Analytica data scandal was so high just to protect Mark Zuckerberg from personal liability. Just to recap, the Cambridge Analytica data scandal in 2013, they created a This Is Your Digital Life app that used the Facebook platform to ask a series of questions to build psychological profiles on users, and then it hoovered up the data of the user's Facebook friends via Facebook's Open Graph platform. The app itself from Cambridge Analytica harvested the data of up to 87 million Facebook profiles without people's consent. You can see there was just a brief recap and I have the Wikipedia link there on that. Number four, has Facebook been promoting positive stories about itself in its own news feed? Number five, last, and this was, I took another look at this, Facebook knew that Instagram was toxic for teens. Now, let me go on. Jane Wakefield did some reporting from the BBC, and she reported in September, Facebook-owned Instagram has been criticized for keeping secret its internal research into the effect social media had on teenage users. According to the Wall Street Journal, its studies, that is Facebook's own studies, showed teenagers blamed Instagram for increasing levels of anxiety and depression. Now, the Wall Street Journal's report, not disputed by Facebook, finds there was a 2019 presentation slide that said, we make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teenage girls. Teenagers blamed Instagram for increased levels of anxiety and depression. 32% of teenage girls surveyed said that when they feel bad about their bodies, Instagram makes them feel even worse. Some 13% of UK teenagers and 6% of US users surveyed traced a desire to kill themselves back to Instagram. Instagram had conducted multiple focus groups and online surveys, so they knew this stuff. Of course, Facebook goes to defend itself, saying that the Wall Street Journal story focused on just a limited set of findings. And the company says, we've done extensive work around bullying, suicide, self-injury, and eating disorders to help make Instagram a safe and supportive place for everybody. They have, and this is true, they have developed features so that people can protect themselves from bullying. We've given everyone the option to hide like counts, and we've continued to connect people who may be struggling with support organizations. Now, also, and I thought this was quite interesting here, I put it in green, it's working on prompts to encourage people repeatedly dwelling on negative subjects to actually look at different topics. So to put a prompt in there to nudge people in a different direction. I don't know. Well, okay. Andy Burroughs, who is the head of the Child Safety Online for the National Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Children, said that it's appalling that they chose to sit on their hands rather than act on evidence. And Andy Burroughs goes on to say, instead of working to make the site safe, they've obstructed researchers, regulators, and government and run a PR, public relations, lobbying campaign in an attempt to prove the opposite. Now, a member of Parliament, MP Damian Collins, wants to hold the companies to account, and he says that the Wall Street Journal Facebook files investigation has exposed how the company time and again puts profits before harm. He said its own research is telling it that a large number of teen Instagram users say the service makes them feel worse about themselves, but the company just wants to make sure they keep coming back. And that's part of, if you didn't understand why hiding like counts was important, it's been proven time and again that every time this thing goes off or the app goes off or you get more likes, your brain actually gets a dopamine hit akin to taking a drug, for example, okay? Gets a positive reinforcement mechanism. So the more likes you get, the more dopamine hits your brain gets. I will look for at least some studies on that and link them. Jonathan Haidt was talking to the BBC Radio about Mark Zuckerberg. He had met him. Quotes Jonathan as saying that Mark Zuckerberg, he was interested in what they were saying, but believes that the research is ambiguous and does not point to harm, Mr. Haidt said. Of course, now we know they had their own research studies, which did suggest harm. They had focus groups, online surveys, diary studies. So this was not a one chance finding. This is not a one-off. Thank you. Good luck. And try and stay off social media. Why not? Take care. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.